And today I'd like to talk about breaking into project management. This is a question that I get quite often, and there's a lot of things to cover, so let's get started here. So, first thing that I want to talk about is some of the techniques that you can use when you're trying to break into project management. And I'm specifically talking about someone who doesn't have a lot of experience managing projects and is kind of running into that catch-22 where you're like, I need experience in order to get these roles as a project manager, but I don't have the experience. So how do I gain that experience? So the first thing that I would say is make yourself known. In your current role, in your current position, make sure that your boss knows that you want to get into project management, the people around you, basically anybody that you interact with on a day-to-day basis that might have some influence or might be a hiring manager for a project management role, or may just have a project like a volunteer opportunity for you, anything like that. You need to make yourself known. So when you're doing your annual performance review and you're maybe a software developer or customer service agent or something like that, and they're going through the standard goals that they have, learn Perl a little bit better, or whatever the goals might be, make sure that you have one of those goals as to learn and to volunteer for project management positions, or to run or manage a few projects within your team, something like that. Make it something that they're on the same page with you, and you're a team basically trying to get you into that type of role. All right, so the second thing is to create your own opportunities. So kind of in line with making yourself known, you also want to just brainstorm, think of things that you could do. A lot of times when I got started, a lot of the projects that I ended up managing were projects that I proposed. Basically, I just kind of looked around the office and what are the problems basically that we're running into? What are maybe some processes that could be running better than they are right now? And so taking a look at those, it's pretty easy to, in a lot of cases, if you start looking at it that way, to find opportunities where, hey, it'd be really great if we did a project to implement, X, Y, and Z. It would really help us out with this process over here, or something like that. Go ahead and propose that, and volunteer your time to go ahead and make that happen. So on volunteering, when I talk about volunteering, it could be what I was just talking about with creating your own opportunities within your organization. It could be an external volunteering thing, so for a nonprofit organization or a local project management organization like a PMI chapter or APM or something like that. It could be for your church or something like that. Basically, there's lots of different places where you can volunteer. And again, you can use that same kind of create your own opportunities mentality where, there's more work and there's more benefit to be given to different organizations and companies than people have time for. So, don't expect someone to come up with a project for you to work on. This stuff is not going to fall in your lap. So, volunteer. Network is another very important thing. So join your local PMI chapter or other project management group, and network with other project managers. Ask them about their jobs. Basically, whenever you're networking, there's a couple things to keep in mind. One is that make sure that relationship that you're trying to build with someone is beneficial to the other person. If you come at this with just a me mentality, it's not going to work. People are not going to want to talk to you. They're not going to want to mentor you. They're not going to want to give their time to you. So more than anything, make sure that when you're doing that networking relationship, that you should first be seeking to provide value to the other person. And that a lot of times that can start out with just asking them about what they do and being very interested in their responses. I've had some people try to network with me or try to get me to take them on as a mentee, and so they ask for some advice or something like that, and I give them my advice, and then the first thing they do is turn around and say, well, I tried that, it didn't work, blah blah blah. I mean, kind of shooting down my advice out of hand, and so that type of thing just is going to turn people off. So make sure that when you're networking, that you're doing it in the right way. And I talk about that in some of my project management career coaching course, but it's it's an art form. Target organizations who value project management. This is very important too. So especially if you're probably in an organization right now, or maybe you're unemployed even, where they don't value project management, don't go look at jobs. Job titles are important too, because they can give you an indication about what companies are interested in. But target organizations who value project management. If you can get into a large company, one of the big five, like consulting firms or something like that, where they may even have like an internship program for project management. I mean, that's obviously an excellent opportunity if you can get an internship doing something like that. But even if it's not a company like that, you can look at the types of jobs that they post, historically, and network with people on LinkedIn, and you can find out which organizations value project management as a discipline and kind of go after it that way. Donate your time and effort in an acting capacity to demonstrate your ability. This is very important. So this is a way for you to basically prove that you're able to do the job, and it kind of goes in line with the next one too. So basically, when you're donating your time and your effort, and a manager of mine used to say that you need to be able to demonstrate that you can do your boss's job for about 6 months before you're actually going to get that job. And I think that's very true. So volunteering within your company, basically doing these projects that you even create yourself and get permission to work on, those types of things are going to be really instrumental in getting the hiring managers to see that you're an up-and-comer, you're the type of person who they want for this type of role. So, and as a part of that too, learning the basics of project management and starting to apply them is extremely important. So even if it's just you and you're working on a singular project all by yourself, what I call a pseudo project, you can still learn the basics of project management and start to apply them. When I started out kind of getting into the formal project management stuff, at the time I wasn't managing a project team yet. I was an individual contributor, but I was doing like these small kind of pseudo projects. And so what I started to do was, I wanted to apply these things that I was learning about project management. So I ended up doing little project plans, little schedules, work breakdown structure, little one-page project status reports. And I started doing these things kind of just in the way that I was working. It was different than anything anyone else had done. Most of the time with these small projects that were like a couple weeks in duration, it was essentially an email from a director or from someone saying, hey, I'd like this done, and then we would just say, okay, maybe ask a couple questions and go do it. Well, I started to apply some of the discipline and just the concepts and techniques of formal project management to my everyday work, and that was awesome because first of all, it gave me experience with just kind of thinking through, the process of, okay, first I got to figure out why they want this, and I got to be really clear about that. And that kind of goes in with your requirements or your project charter, user stories, things like that. And then I got to figure out what it is that is actually the scope of this project. What are the deliverables? What, at the end of it, what does it need to look like? And then from there, so I went from the why to the what, and then I got into the how. So then it was a matter of putting things into a schedule, figuring out what it was going to take, doing an estimate, those types of things. So you can do this all really quickly, especially on these small projects, but doing it in a formal way, I created my own templates and everything. So whenever I started a project, I would send out that project plan, which is basically like a one-page project plan. That would be a way for me to communicate with the stakeholder, with the person who requested that, to let them know that I understand exactly what they want, and please take a look at this if there's anything different. If they were locally located to me, I would walk over and go through that sheet of paper with them. If they were not, I'd just get on the phone with them after emailing it to them and say, let's walk through this really quick and make sure that I understand what you want. And then I had a one-page project status report where I would just use that as a way to keep them informed of what the progress was and everything. So get a lot of attention that way.